Welcome back to Dry Arabia for some 2v2 action. On Team 1 in the red we have God's Shadow as the English, and in the blue we have Zerdahart, or however that's supposed to be pronounced with the umlaut, in the as the Ottomans, who is getting his first cheeky military school up. On Team 2 in the orange we have Godzilla as the French, and in the yellow we have another name, Minikun as the Ayyubids. So I think we're just going to be talking about Godzilla and the Ayyubids in this case. So I don't often cast team games, it's not something I do very regularly, but I was sent this one and told it's going to be a really interesting match and something that I definitely needed to check out. So let's take a little look at how all of these players are setting up at the beginning. So we can see Zerdahart is going for his military school early, so he's going to be able to get some spears across the map to do a little bit of poking. In a team game, obviously, they are a little less effective at that super early aggression because they do take longer to get out, but getting these cooking is that little eco boost for the Ottomans as well. We can see English is doing classic English things, just going around the TC and 2 on gold. So very interesting that he's actually deleted the mining camp here and put it around the back side. So whether he's planning on getting a super safe second TC around here somewhere or just freeing up room for farms later, a little bit of pre-planning I think is going on with these Conquerors. So these are both full Conqueror teams, so we're going to see some high level action today, or high level for me at least in Platinum. We can see the French is 2 on gold, very heavy on food at the moment, and everyone is working their way up to the feudal age. Now let's talk about what everyone is going to do. The second team with Godzilla and the Ayyubids are definitely going to be looking at potentially some aggression. We've got the French, which usually will go School of Cavalry, and then we have Ayyubids, which could go for a mixture of different things, which would be the Castle Age, the Free Camels. There we go, getting confused. Here we go. So what's he gone for? The Free Camels, exactly as it was expected. So they can do a little bit of harassment, use those as a boost to their feudal economy if they're going to go for very heavy aggression. So I think that's a very standard play, and it also means that they're going to debuff any cavalry their opponents go for as well. If we take a little look, did he go for it? Yeah, School of Cavalry coming up, so we should be seeing some chunky Royal Knights popping out of that orange base any time now. If we head over to the red side, we've gone for the Council Hall. Very interesting. You don't often see higher level players going for the Council Hall, but maybe in this case actually getting more of those longbows out more quickly is good. But as everyone's probably seen the recent Beastie video where he is coaching Whammon, his wife, he makes a very good point that Abbey of the King is just generally better because you get the healing and you also get the king, which is free harassment, a bit like the camels that we can see coming in here. But going for this one is going to mean he's going to be able to pump out those longbows very quickly at the beginning. If we head over to the ping warning, 2 spears popping over and getting Ayyubids off that gold. So Zerdahart gonna have to be really careful he doesn't lose these guys, wants to make sure he keeps them alive just to keep doing some poking. So now he's going to be able to either damage this mining camp or circle round and get the berries as well, or at least idle them a little bit. If we check out his base, he is still working his way up. He's also gone for a barracks, which is very interesting. So you don't often see early production like that dropped. So it looks like he's planning on going very heavy into some spearmen in the feudal age. No feudal for him just yet. Obviously going for that early military school does slow things down, and if we flick over to his perspective, then we can see that he is almost up there. He just needs a little bit more food and he's on his way. The spears now running over 3 in queue and heading over to the French base to give them a little bit of a pokey poke as well. We can see he's still working on his first vizier point, and these guys he's going to be able to go for the tier 1. So I imagine it'll be Anatolian Hills, but a meta would also be pretty good for that increased movement speed with the units in formation. Good to know that the meta only applies to the Ottoman units because it has to be in formation. formation, and you don't technically count as a formation when you're with your allies. But nice little aggression here from Zerdahart, idling up that gold and just disrupting his opponent's plans. So a couple of these spears doing a nice little bit of damage and just outside that TC range. So if he does that, he can keep them off the gold for the time being, which, as we all know, means less knights coming out. There is one in queue, so they are going to have to be very careful, because these 3 spears could potentially get taken out. So they're splitting up and moving around to you know, cause some trouble later. The camel has come out and now he's kiting the spear for days. So this is the problem that you have when you go spears against camels, that you have to be really careful that they don't use that ranged attack, the raider bow, and kite you till the end of days. Looking over here, oh, some more pokes on the gold, breaking down that house, and the villagers trying to get a little stab on, but the spears just idling them up. Really nice work, pulling back just as he's about to go into range, and we've got 2 knights popping out now. So 2 knights against 3 spears. I think we all know what's going to happen, but if you can be really careful, he might be able to get one of these villagers as well. So this, losing a little bit of health, getting hit by a charge there and trying to turn around so he can get a nice hit on those knights, but the villagers there actually blocking them, which is actually, this is really clever actually from Godzilla, using the villagers actually to tank a little bit of that hit, so then the knights can do full damage. So all of those spears being taken out, and it looks like we have a load of longbows heading over to defend Zerdahart, and the red player God Shadow has also done some cheeky little walls to keep his base nice and secure. So no second TC from either of these players as of yet, and it looks like nobody from the minimap is on the gold at all. So this is going to be very heavy feudal aggression. We can see from the minimap we've got some camels coming over, another one in queue over here, and 2 on the backside. So he's going very heavy into this camel, full camel production, and then we can see the knights for Godzilla, there we go, are also coming over, so the full cavalry charge coming towards Zerdahart's base, but we do have longbows to defend. Now we've gone for the Sultahani trade network, which I think actually in this case could be a really clever move, because you get that passive gold income, so that is going to allow him to keep doing that even while his gold is idled, while he's trying to keep himself going with those raids. The camels on the outside trying to pin him into his base while he's building that production. This villager might be a bit of a goner, or just pulling away in time, and these camels take a lot of range damage, so getting hit by that TC is definitely not what they want to be seeing. Infantry and longbows pushing out now across the map, forcing those knights to circle around, and they have that mobility. But if these guys can keep the infantry together, that's going to work massively in their favor, because a little pickup like this is just going to really weaken those forces. And although the Ottomans get them for free, you don't want to be wasting them. If we take a little look, he did go for Anatolian Hills, the point there, so he's got a ton of sheep in the base ready to go. If we take a look over at what the other guys are doing, the Ayyubids are just heavy on the gold, full camel production, and got their blacksmith to get all of those upgrades. And if we check on the French, he's double stables, full knight production, and he's also got a tower there just in case somebody comes over to poke him and ruin his day. If we take a little look, let's bring up the resources. I was hiding it just so that we could see more of the map, but now we're starting. We can see the longbows pushing in, some reinforcements getting a little bit of a poke from the knights there, and they're gonna have to be really careful that they don't get kited. And oh, that's a big hit from the knights. They've managed to circle around, only a couple of spears in, and the camels are taking those guys out, doing a lot of damage. These guys need to keep the spear numbers high to keep those knights off them. Longbows doing a great job of taking out those camels, and it's a pretty even fight. If those archers longbows get taken out, then it's going to be a real danger zone for all of these spears. We do have the meta for the speed and attack bonus, but there we go. So the knights trying to get a circle on the meta, running around, and this nicely done. Look at the damage on those knights. That's a huge pickup there for Zerdahart, and Godzilla is actually really taking a huge amount of damage on those knights. Need to keep these longbows with the spears to make sure they don't get picked off. That's a nice little charge there from the knights. So these guys are doing a fantastic job of keeping all of their units together, and we can also see some Sipahi mixed in there as well. Obviously, the camels are really strong because they've got ranged and melee attack, but they are weak against range, so once there's a longbow mass, they're in real trouble, so they have to be really careful when they take an engagement. And all of these players are going full feudal now. So we've got Ayyubids out on the berries over here, also on the berries over here to make sure that he's getting that constant food income, and we can see the French doing French things over on the deer. So does he have his survival techniques? Let's take a look. Of course he does, and he's also got wheelbarrow as well, so these guys are going to be getting a huge amount of food eco. The red and blue, the Ottoman and English mass now coming across the center of the map, really linking up, and there's another meta there, so all of these guys are going to have those attack buffs. So we've got the defense drum going, the knights taking a huge hit from the spears, and the longbows now starting to get a mass where they can take them on. But on the backside, the camels are trying to disrupt the Ottoman base at the same time, but splitting their armies like this may actually work massively in their favor because they've got huge defense against the knights, so now the French can't defend the Ayyubid base at the same time. Looking at the eco for all of these players, Godzilla's very heavy on gold, but nobody anywhere close to the castle age at this stage, so they're just going to have to be really careful who takes more damage. Now, circling around, longbows trying to get a little pick off, and we can see here that the Ayyubids are massing up in the back, trying to get all of those units together as they're trying to do a bit of a flank. They've got the camels coming in to get the reinforcements, but it looks like most of them are going to make it there before they get back. So longbows and spears pushing Ayyubids off of these berries, taking out one of the spears there. So if we go around now, it looks like we're going to be trying to fight on the top side and the bottom, but splitting their armies like this is going to be huge. And if we bring this in, we can see the big fight now. So the longbows coming in, there we go, hitting all of those camels and doing a huge amount of damage, but watching out for the knights on the back. Oh no, this is going to be huge hit there for the knights if they can get their charge off. They charged a little bit too early, getting that meta down, and that's a big loss there for Zerdahart and his Ottoman Empire. But massing up the spears on top of each other here, keeping those longbows alive is definitely what they need to be focusing on, as the longbows are target firing those camels. That camel mass has massively gone down there. That was a huge fight for these guys, and the Ayyubids came off very badly on that one. So this is where, if they can keep all of these units together, it's like an indefensible blob, or an unbreakable blob, should we say. So both of these guys doing a great job keeping them together, but these Royal Knights should be really scary. I'd be really worried about taking a big hit from these guys at this stage, because that's 11 Royal Knights with chivalry. I think that's not what you want to be going up against. We can also see flooding across the map even more Ottoman units coming across now, and going to be building the forces. So, but these longbows, are they going to get caught by those knights, or can they see them? I think they're just out of range, but it looks like they might be able to get a big charge on them now, and this is going to be a big hit to the English forces if those knights can get it off. Look at them just melting to those Royal Knights. They're taking a huge amount of damage, but now the other team knows exactly where they are, so they're going to be circling all their forces coming back down from the north side, as it looks like Ayyubids are just clicking up to the castle age, so they're going to try and do a bit of a castle push now to get a tech advantage. If we take a little look at his thing, he's going for the economic win, which I think is the right choice, and God Shadow doing a little bit of clown car shenanigans. His longbows in there exactly the right amount, so, and the camels going in the TC to try and get some fire on them, but they're going to be jumping in and out to try and do that, and the spears doing a nice little pickup, taking out more of those knights. So this is where the French Ayyubids are in to be really careful not to lose their mass, and this amount of longbows is going to do a huge amount of damage to whatever units they fight against. So that's 50 per round per volley. That's a huge amount of damage to be taking, and they've seen the age up and they know what's going to be happening, and if they camp on this gold and stop any of the other gold, then they're going to be in a really good position. It looks like nobody else is working their way up to castle just yet. If we flick through the different people, nobody is working on it. So only the Ayyubids, and they're going for the landmarks slipe. They've got another ram coming in at this stage, going to be burning down that House of Wisdom, where its health is dropping precipitously. It's massively plummeting. and the Royal Knights are circling, waiting to try and get the right hit on them. Are they going to find the position? Are they going to find the angle? The spears moving across, and the Rams taking the charge, which is massive. It's a lot of wood lost, but that's saved all of these longbows, and the House of Wisdom is going down, and their reinforcements coming in. So Godzilla trying to circle around, trying to find some damage. Is he going to be able to do it? Another camel running straight into those longbows and getting taken out immediately. So we can see here that the backup, the reinforcements getting taken out. Godzilla doing a great job of keeping those English longbows at bay, as we can see that the House of Wisdom has gone down. So no age up coming through for him. All the resources have gone back in. So now he has a huge amount of resources and nothing to spend them on. That is really going to set back his plans and put the pressure on Godzilla now to defend. So the longbows running straight through. This is where he's going to have to be really careful that he doesn't send all of his reinforcements straight into those knights, as they can then reduce that mass slowly but surely. So what is Ayyubids going to do? Is he going to start producing? Is he planning on rebuilding? This is the plan. He's got the camels. He was keeping them safe in the back. Melee damage to take out those rams, which also is going to stop him losing any more of his golden age. We can see the English forces are now rallying closer to home to make sure they don't get taken out by those knights, and we are up to 25 royal knights at this stage. That is very, very scary. We can also see on the top side that Ayyubids have snuck out onto the gold over here, so they are going to be able to continue to get resources, but those rams are going to take out all of that production, and this is where they've got to be really careful as well. If they lose all their production, it doesn't matter how many resources you have got. So this infantry blob doing a massive amount to fight those knights, and look at this pickup. All of those villagers caught out by the Sipahi. Godzilla's forces running away, trying to evade it, and the villagers just dropping like flies. More of them coming out, running past the Sipahi, trying to get out past the rally point, but that's a huge hit for the French economy. And if we take a little look now, it looks like the French are diving the Ottoman base as well, but the reinforcements are at home to fight them. But Zerdahat has to be careful, and they call GG. That huge hit on the French economy was enough to just knock them out, and let's take a little look at the post-match review to see exactly how all of these players did. Here we are then, just before GG was called, to take a little look at the final state of play and how both teams played this particular matchup. So let's zoom out, let's bring up the interface and give it a cheeky little pause, and then we can see exactly what has gone on. So if we take a look at the French base then, so he's already started a little bit of his farm transition. He is obviously out on the berries, but this is very exposed at the front, in a very dangerous position because the main fight was happening around the Ayyubid base over here. So potentially going back on here where he is moving now would have been a safer choice. But all of the food for him did spawn forward. His boar is right in the center. The deer pack is also here as well, so he did manage to get the one at the back over here, but apart from that he was in trouble. So potentially shifting over to the deer over here and taking it from his colleague would have been really good, but denying that food actually has been really helpful. He managed to get a huge amount of units out. I think he had almost 25 knights by the end of it. So if we see them now, they're currently just about to storm the base, and if we go to his vision, there we go, we can see 25 royal knights. That is a very dangerous proposition for anyone. Got the +1 defense and the +1 attack as well, so 20 damage a hit. That's absolutely huge. Luckily for Zerdahat, he had all of his reinforcements with the blacksmith producing those much more quickly, as well as the military school. So no additional military schools as of yet, which I think is actually a very good play. So I think in general the knight play from Godzilla was very, very good. On the Ayyubid side, obviously went mass camels, huge camel push, most of them sitting in the TC at the moment, the Desel Raiders. Now this is really good because it's an anti-cavalry build, because the camels will debuff any cavalry, so if there's other knights then obviously that's really good. But the only problem is the camels are countered by the ranged, and they were supposed to be sniping the spears, and so the knights weren't able to make contact with the longbows to take them out, but the longbows were still able to kite and to get the camels. So actually in most of those fights, when they were grouped together, the Ayyubids were coming off worse because all those longbows were getting a huge amount of damage against the camels. So I think needing to switch into potentially some archers, something that would have been able to take on those spears, would have made a bit of a difference. So then they could have at least thinned down those spear masses for then the knights to rush in and wipe out those longbows. But generally, I would say the first team, the English and Ottoman team, did very well at keeping their units together. The one thing I would say that I noticed more than anything was the reinforcements streaming across the map, so we can see like a couple over here. And I think this corpse on the floor is the perfect example that actually Godzilla was doing a great job of circling his knights down the center of the map and able to pick off loads of the reinforcements, loads of longbows, loads of individual spears that he managed to get. So it's actually surprising that God Shadow and Zerdaheart actually managed to get this many units together at the end because of how many were taken out as they were running across, whereas these guys didn't do that, and they did a great job of keeping all of their units together. So this huge mass of knights wouldn't have been able to survive this long even after all those fights unless he kept them together. So that was something that he'd done. I think if Ayyubids had changed composition, or if the French had also gone into some archers, something to take out those spears, that would have made a massive difference. But going for the Castle Age wasn't a bad play, but because the whole focus was on that, they needed to prevent that landmark going down, because if they could have got to the Castle Age, 8 villagers pop out and then Gulam run across, then everyone's going to be in real trouble. And you can see that's what he was planning on doing, because he had his 3 barracks ready to go, so he could pump out Gulams and he could also get the camel lancers as well, and that would have put a massive stop to that huge push. If we check over at the English base, so no 2TC, which I think is actually a fairly good play, and this is very much all in. I like these early defensive walls, but the other side was completely open until closer to the end. Obviously, for any lower players, these guys know it, but that is not a wall. So they can run through there. Obviously, it still stops the knights from running around wherever they like, but just something to remember. If you do it up to the building, it looks like it's connected, but it's really not. And I'm definitely not telling you from the French trauma that I've experienced when I thought I'd fully walled. But I like these additional walls that Zerdaheart's put on the back to protect his food, because he's very lucky with this spawn that he's got back deer and back berries. So with these couple of little walls, he's got like a little paddock, and he's nice and secure here. And I think this is still not chopped through. This is the one thing I find very difficult. You can't actually always see exactly if it's chopped through or not, so you just need to be really careful. But these knights are not going to be able to get in, and so his food is safe, and the villagers can just pop through one of these gates and run to safety as well. The composition for the Ottoman and the full infantry comp, although it didn't have the mobility, because they managed to keep them on top of each other, there was nothing that they could do against them, and I think that worked massively in their favour and was really great. It's also amazing that God Shadow only has 2 set up of farms, so he managed to survive by just going on external food sources until then. So that was allowed him to produce even more units, and also had a couple of barracks down to get some men at arms out, which would have helped to tank up those Gulams as they progress towards the Castle Age. But a fantastic play from all of these players. Really interesting to see how these conquerors tackle these matchups, and something I think we can all learn for our next adventure on the team game. So I hope you've enjoyed this team game casted. If you've got any games you'd like to be casted, make sure you check out the form in the description, and I'll see you next time for some more Age of Empires action.